Howdy everyone, this is Trisha and welcome to my channel. I decided to make another video for my series of Can I Arrange That? I was doing some cleaning and I emptied out this canister of disinfecting wipes and I thought I could use this canister, I can store some things in it, and then I thought, you know what? Can I arrange this? So that's what we're gonna do. So let's get to crafting. Alright, so for the first step, my first thought was to remove this label off the canister. It is just a plastic canister. And then I thought, you know what, why am I going to go through all the trouble of removing the sticker, because I would need quite a bit of my Goo Gone to take it off. Why don't I just paint right over it, give it a couple of coats, save myself some, you know, lots of peeling. Then I thought, well, what if I just decoupage it? And I think that's where I'm going to go through. I'm going to decoupage it, but first, I was at the Dollar Tree and I found this wallpaper. It is a peel and stick. Really nice sheet. And I think I'm going to use this. It is a 16 by 11, by the way. And I'm going to use this. Look at this. It's got a cute little wooden slat finish, or a wooden floor finish, kind of like my table here. I thought it was pretty nice. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and just stick this around the container, and that'll cover that sticker, plus it'll give it a really nice look. So let's do that first. I'm not going to be needing the lid, so I'm going to have to remove that. And then I have this little lip here, which I don't really like. We could cut it off. Do I want to go through all that trouble? I don't think so. I think that a lot of the stuff that I'm going to add here will cover that up, but this part, of course, we definitely want to cover up with our paper. So I'm going to go ahead and start sticking this on here. First I want to measure so I can see how far down I have to go, and then just give it a little bit extra to kind of fold down underneath so it has a nice finish. So let's try and do this. Try to not get too many wrinkles on it because it is a round or curved surface. The only thing not so fabulous about this is that it doesn't have any grid on the back to help you, you know, cut this if you've already measured. It doesn't have any measurements on the back, so you could just draw something on. But you know what? It's got this little dotted line here. Do you see that? That little dotted line? I'm not really sure. It says crack and peel here is what it says. But I'm actually going to use that length because, you know, like I said, I need a little bit to go down this way. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and leave some at the top also so that I can wrap around, so I don't have to worry too much about aligning it perfectly along this edge. So whatever is up here, I can either trim it or just fold it in. So we're going to go ahead and just trim at that little crack and peel line. Let's go ahead and crack it so we know where it's going to peel, right there. Okay, let's continue removing this piece. We could save this for a smaller project. It's just a little piece of stick-on, but I mean, it could be useful for something. Okay, so just peel off the backing. I'm going to line this on here as best as I can, and then just start rolling it upward. Let's see. Just like that. And then just start rolling it up. And then peel and roll a little bit more until you've completely covered your canister. And I'm going to use the complete length of this and just overlap the last part like that. And see how I have here where it's longer than the top? So I'm just going to make some little slits all along because it's so much easier to fold it in when it's cut like this than it is if you try to fold down the whole thing. So cut it into little pieces, fold them in. Now if it's not sticking well, what we can do is we can go with our hot glue gun, add a little bit of glue as we push these in. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom where I trim into it like that, and then just fold the little pieces, and then they can just kind of overlap on top of each other in the corners here, which is the best way to do it rather than try to fold the whole thing and have a whole bunch of wrinkles. All right, So I'm going to finish that and I'll be back. All right, so I have completely covered it, and as you can see, I put the lid back on. Now, it was a little bit of a tight fit because, you know, of the paper that's right here. You could eliminate that by just covering your container up to here, just trimming that off right there. So this slides on really easily. And look, now we have a nice little container, a little storage container for putting some items in. Okay, here's the pop-up part right here. Of course, if you have a brand new container of these wipes and you don't like the label, wouldn't it be cute just to cover it up? And while you still have wipes in there, use it that way. So it's kind of a decorative container with your wipes on it. And then once you've used up all your wipes, you can use it, you know, dry it up inside and then use it for something else. Or as I'm going to use it, for an arrangement. So, of course, I'm not going to need the lid. Now, I've looked at this and I actually want to add a little bit more to it. Of course, you could leave it just as is. It looks perfectly fine. You could do it with any other type of stick-on paper, with any other design, or if you want a decoupage, like a scrap paper from, you know, your scrapbooking. While I was at the Dollar Tree at the beginning of the year, I grabbed a couple of these calendars, little farmhouse one, and then a grateful, thankful, grateful, and blessed one. Really nice 2022 calendars. Now, I wasn't going to use them for the calendar purpose, but because they have such beautiful art. See the little papers that are going to be above each month? Really pretty, and they're kind of going along with the theme of each month, as this farmhouse one is. And I think some of you all grabbed onto some of these calendars as well, or if you have any other kind of a calendar which you've already used up, maybe from, you know, some previous years, but it had some really nice pictures, or even if you want to use a scrapbooking papers to do this. I'm going to cut out one of these. I haven't decided which one yet. My heart is kind of going towards this one, you know, with a little rolling pin on it. It says, "This is where we laugh, love, talk, sing." What is that? Smile, pray, and eat. That is so cute. I think that would be really nice to create a little arrangement for a little breakfast table or some little nook in the kitchen. I love all of these, so I don't know. Which one should I do? I do love this love one, and of course, the farmhouse. I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the farmhouse. But look at this one. Happy Halloween. Oh my goodness, those are so cute. Look at that. All right, everyone. I think I'm going to go ahead and go with this little wreath that says farmhouse. That's the one that I think my eyes are going more towards, only because now I can go ahead and maybe gift this little arrangement, and whomever I give it to can place it anywhere rather than having to put it in a kitchen, for example, like that one. Or look at that. Oh, I love that one too. But we're going to go ahead and go with this one. Now, just a little reminder, you can completely skip this portion. You don't have to decorate it any further like I'm going to do. Of course, you could paint this, like I said, paint on top of the paper, and then of course you can then decoupage something. Now, I've gone ahead and I've cut out this one sheet. Like I said, I was going to use this one. I really like it, but it's really big. It's not going to fit in the space that I have on my container here. It will fit around, but the length is too much, you know, the design for this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out the wreath, leaving a little bit of the white around it. So I'm going to trim the farmhouse lettering off of here. And what I'm going to do is just carefully cut. I don't have to be perfect. If you want to be perfect, you do what you want to do. I'm just going to trim around like that. And then I'm going to trim the inside as well. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to grab my Mod Podge so I can go ahead and stick it to the nicest side, whichever the seam is not meeting up. I think the seam is back here, so this is actually going to be my front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this lid on, because here's the opening of the lid, and this is telling me where the front is, so it just reminds me, here's the front and that's the back. So I'm going to leave the lid on for now, but I will be removing it. I will not be using that lid. Alright, so I've cut out my design here, the wreath that I wanted to cut out. As you can see, it has a little bit of white on the edges. It's no big deal. And And then I went ahead and I cut out the words that said farmhouse, and I actually cut it into 2 pieces because it was a lot easier for me to cut around them because it was kind of delicate. And I did cut inside of the spaces some of the letters, but some of them I didn't. It was just too small, and I didn't want to, you know, accidentally just destroy everything. Besides, everything was getting kind of bent, so I didn't want to, you know, fold it anymore. Okay, so we're going to get these words out of the way. And I'm going to be using just a Mod Podge, and I'm going to be using a gloss, but you know, you can use a matte, or if you want to use a white glue to decoupage this on here, you have just some regular Elmer's glue or even some Aleene's tacky glue. You could use some of that, add a little bit of water to it so it's not so thick to spread, and then you can use it as a decoupage. So we're going to go ahead and do that so I can place this wreath on the front here, and look how pretty that looks. See, the little white on the edges is not even that big of a deal. Look at that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So first, add some decoupage on my base, and then I'll put down this on here and then put some more decoupage on top. Now, excuse me because my lid on my decoupage bottle is stuck, so I can't get it off. So I'll be back. All right, now remember I had put this part of the, you know, the cap facing this way so that I would remember that this is the front of my canister. So I'm going to put all this. Now, if for some reason this wallpaper peel and stick doesn't stick to your canister, use a little bit of the same Mod Podge if you want, or just don't waste it on here. Use a scrapbooking piece of paper. I think that'll decoupage a lot, you know, nicer on here. Now, of course, my paper overlapped itself here, so it does seal itself here, and then of course because I've hot glued it down here and on the top it's sticking down. Okay, so this is the area that I think I need to cover, and I need to do this quickly because I'm not putting it on too thick and I don't want it to dry. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm gonna look at my little wreath, I think like this. Yeah. And just gently put it down. And wherever, that's my dog, wherever it's not sticking, maybe it just needs some Mod Podge underneath there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, let's do the other side. And just smooth it down. And then of course, we're going to Mod Podge all over it, just to seal it in. There we go. And then I'm going to take my words, my farmhouse words, and after this is dry, I'm actually going to decoupage those on there. The reason that I'm not doing it right now is because this is all wet and I can't align it right now where I want it. So I'm going to wait till this dries, and then I'll go ahead and put just a little bit of Mod Podge after I've decided where I want them to go, my word, because obviously I could go farm and then house down here, or just do one long letter or one word on here. So I'm going to wait till it dries, and we shall be back. And I'm going to go ahead and decoupage all the way around, you guys, just to give it that same finish. All right, so here's where I'm sticking the lettering down, and I'm just doing a little bit at a time rather than putting a bunch of glue. Now the one, or Mod Podge, the one that I put all over is still not quite dry, but you know, I decided to move on ahead and get this on here. There we go. And then of course we're going to seal it on top so it doesn't come off, and we make sure that everything's on there properly. And we're going to let that dry. Alright, so now that my container is decorated, and I really like it, of course you'll have your own ideas of how you want to decorate yours. I'm going to go ahead now and prep it for a floral arrangement. So I need some foam here, and I've got this floral foam, but I also have this little piece here, and I decided that I'm going to go ahead and use that for the flowers to go into. And here I just have a little knife. I call it my little craft knife, but it's just a regular knife, and I use that to cut my styrofoam, you know, shave off little pieces so that, or edges, so that they can fit into the inside of the mouth of my container. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put this flat on here. Let's take that off. And I'm just going to put this on top here so I can kind of see what I have to shave off on each corner. So I'll do that first. I'm actually going to shave, I'm going to mark it, right? But when I shave it, I'm not going to shave it, you know, straight down. I'm going to go at a little bit of an angle because I just want this bottom part to go into the container. That way it doesn't slide all the way in and fall to the bottom of my container. So let's go ahead and mark all the little corners. I think that's it. The other one wasn't necessary, but we'll check it. This was just a tiny little bit. I'll go ahead and do this one just a little bit. Now we'll go ahead and see if it fits. If not, we shave it off a little bit more. That goes in perfectly fine, but I can see that this is way too big. So obviously when I was holding it, I wasn't holding it properly. And not to mention the fact that this top part does go in some, so it's a little bit or less of a diameter than the bottom was. So I think that'll go in there now. Yep, look at that. I don't need it to go all the way in because obviously I don't want it to fall in. So now what I want to do is just use some hot glue, little corners here to attach it. And that's it for that. Now that my glue is dry, and you don't have to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of, you know, round off these little edges here. All right. Here I have some Spanish moss that I'm going to go ahead and use to cover the styrofoam. I'm going to spread it out a little bit. I don't want it to be too tight because then I can't get my floral stems to go through it. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that it covers the edges mostly. So then I'm going to be using these pins to tack it down. This is what the pins look like. They're floral pins. Some people refer to them as S pins because of the little S shape, or even as a U pin, but it's just a floral pin. Let's go ahead and use those, and then we'll separate this, bring it around the edges, and we'll hold those down as well. I don't have to worry too much about the top part because flowers are going to go in there and they'll pretty much cover all of that up. Alright, the reason I don't use glue to attach moss, and I have used it, but the main reason that I don't always use it, I should say, is because it'll create little puddles on my styrofoam, and if I'm trying to put in a flower, I may hit that little puddle, and then there I am trying to find where there's no glue to insert my flowers. Now, we're going to let all this little bits of moss fall off here. I think that looks really pretty. Of course, if you don't like it, you know, trim them off. I went into my stash to look for some little flowers or, you know, some items that I could go ahead and put into my arrangement. I had these little leftover bits. A little succulent. Why not? Let's go ahead and reuse that in here. Some pretty little blue flowers and these sort of kind of creamy florals. These were from fall, from the Dollar Tree from this past year, but you know what? I had these left over and they're pretty, so why not? Let's use them. These are also from the Dollar Tree, in case you're curious. I think this is also from the Dollar Tree. I'm not sure about this one. I'm going to go ahead and place this succulent in there first. I wish I had another one to put in there. I think it would look really pretty if it had a couple of them in there, including the flowers. So let's go ahead and put this one in there first. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. Hopefully this will go into the styrofoam. This little plastic will push into it. So I'm just going to push some of this moss out of the way. And it's not hard enough to push in, but I can go ahead and take some little scissors or anything else that I can poke with, maybe a little wood dowel, poke a little hole in there, place the glue, push that in, and I'm kind of pushing it in a little bit of an angle so that I can see it from the front. See, it's not quite like facing totally up like that, but at an angle. All right, guess what? I went around my house to see if I did have another succulent, and yes, I'm going to reuse it for this arrangement. This one I'm going to put it a little bit further back, make a little hole, put some glue in there, and then I'm going to push it in. Again, at a little bit of an angle. That's good. Look how pretty that looks already. All right, let's add some flowers. I'm just going to use my wire cutters to cut off about 3 stems for now. The same with the blue. Alright, so I've got the camera now so that we can look at the top of the arrangement. Of course, we don't need to be looking at the bottom anymore. We're going to be looking at the top now. I'm going to take one of my stems and put it kind of in the middle, but more to the back. I do want it to be sort of a centerpiece, but obviously because of the design on it, it doesn't have it on the back. So this is obviously the back. So I do kind of want it to be a little bit of a centerpiece, like I said, but not too much. So I'm going to put this in here, but I want to see how high I want it to go. I don't want it to be so high because there's a lot of bare space here, which means I'm going to need way more flowers to fill that in. So I'm going to want it a little bit shorter so it gives me less space to have to fill. And I think that's good enough, and that's about right there. But then I need a little bit of length so that I can insert into the styrofoam. And as you saw, that styrofoam wasn't very thick, so we don't need that much though. We're just going to trim it right about there. We can either put glue there or glue on our stem. If you don't want to glue your stems in, that's up to you. But I suggest that once you have inserted it, not to move it around, don't pull it back out and then push it back in, because you might make that little hole bigger and then your flowers won't be secured in there. Alright, so I'm going to place the second stem, and this is my height, so I don't want to go any higher, but I want to fill in these spaces. So I'm going to hold it up against here, push up the greenery, and I want it to be about right here, and then plus the extra to insert into the styrofoam. I've added a little bit of glue down here. Push it somewhere between the moss. There we go. Fix those little leaves so they're not all crushed. There we go. And I'll do the same to this other side. Just a little bit extra. Cut it right there. And what I have created here is a triangle. So now I want to fill in the spaces in between. So I'll take these. I'm going to push all of this to the top because I'm going to cut this short. And then of course add a little bit extra to insert. Push it right in there. It's not quite in front of this. It's kind of in between, you know, this other stem as well. So let's just fix these little flowers so they don't look all crushed. Look how pretty that looks already. All right, I'm going to turn it around because I want to add one right here. I'm going to cut it the same as I did the other one. Glue. And then I'm going to push that in. And here I can see that this moss here just doesn't want to stay in place. So this is where I'm actually going to use some glue because I'm not inserting anything in that spot. So I'm just going to put that up and glue it down in any spots that I see the styrofoam, just to make sure that it's covered. And then I don't have to use so many greenery pins. But look how pretty that looks. I'll turn it around. You can see the flowers from the front. You can see them from the back. Okay? I do have one more, and I'm trying to decide if I need it or not. And you know what? I don't think I need it. I have 5 stems, which is an odd number. I like to work with odd numbers. It just gives everything more of a natural feel to it. All right, I have 2 of these, which will make it 7 stems into my arrangement. So that's pretty good. I'm still keeping with the odd theme. Just going to trim them short. I don't need them to stick out too far out. I'm going to put one in the back. There we go. Put one in the back. Move your leaves around. They're able to move around. Bend your stem if you have to manipulate it so that it is placed right where you want it. Look how pretty that looks back here. So if this goes out to be a centerpiece, it'll look pretty from this side as well. So I think I want another one right in here. And I'm going to use this one. And I'm just going to cut it short. Of course, I want enough to stick into the styrofoam. This one's going to be a little tricky. I don't want to glue my, or add any hot glue to my finger. So I'm actually going to put the glue down where I'm going to insert it, because I'm going to need to grab this from here to push down. So I'm making sure that I'm pushing that hard stem in, which is part of this one right here. Okay, so now I can manipulate my leaves. Look at that. Look how pretty that looks. Just pull them out to each side. A little bit here in the center. It doesn't cover anything except the styrofoam. But there we go. All right, everyone, so there we go. Let's turn this around. We can see it from every angle, just like that. And the way that it looks at the top. And as you can see, we don't see any of the styrofoam, so that's what we want to do. Just kind of just look at it closely. If we see any styrofoam, we can just take a little wad of that Spanish moss, or if you're using that green moss, you know, just glue it into those little spots, or use the greenery pins. Of course, you know, you want to save some of your material, so just a little bit of glue will help. And there we go. Let me push this back so that you can see it. Look at that. That's one thing I didn't notice, you guys, is that I didn't make my arrangement so that this is the front. So I'm probably going to have to redo this. But you know what? I think it looks really pretty, and I wanted to show you how beautiful, you know, an arrangement you can make using any container. So this is just another example of, can I arrange that? And here I took a container that has some disinfectant wipes. They're basically the same as the ones that are also have baby wipes in them, you know, or your car wipes, you know, whatever you happen to have. Little plastic container. Obviously, we don't have to throw it away. We can make a cute little arrangement. Looks like I'm going to have to redo mine just to make sure that this is centered. Wow, what a silly thing I did here. I wasn't even paying attention. But there we go, everyone. I think it came out great. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you will give me a big old thumbs up too, and leave a kind comment down below and let me know what you think of my idea of using these containers. Did I do a good arrangement with it or not? What would you use? Do you have any suggestions that I can use in the future? Of course, I know a lot of you have given me some suggestions. I just haven't found the items. Not that I haven't been looking. I'm also trying not to spend too much money. As you know, our times are a little bit rough right now. Well, not a little bit, they're getting pretty rough. So we want to just make sure that we can find some items that are not going to, you know, break the bank. So that's why we're looking around, see what we have in our own home, you know, what we can reuse. And can you arrange that? I'm sure you can. Let's see what we can find. Give me some ideas of some inexpensive items that could possibly be around the house, or maybe somebody else has that they can just go ahead and let me use. So that's it, everyone. I hope that you really did enjoy this series. I know that I haven't added too many videos to this, and it's been a while since I had added an idea. I just happened to be cleaning, like I said, and I had the container. So I said, here we go. I have something. And also because, you know, I haven't been doing too well with myself. I've been a little bit hurt and in a little bit of pain, and I haven't been able to move. So excuse me. But you guys, I really do want to make videos. We've also did some work outside, which is why I was in a lot of pain and wasn't able to do a lot of things. So I have a video that's going to be coming for that. We have to finish up the work. So that's kept me also from being able to, you know, finish that and complete that project outside. So I'll have that video up for you guys soon. I'm hoping, hopefully by this weekend, we'll have everything finished, if not before. Yeah, so give me any suggestions. I hope everyone is doing well. Please take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. Love each other. Be kind to each other. And as always, enjoy. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell for notifications.